Ederson, is he going to Saudi Arabia, Mark?
That's how it always should be, by the way.
Yeah. I think he will go. I think obviously City are holding out for a better offer, but I think they are pretty much resigned to letting him go. I think, in Ortega they've got a reliable number 2 who can step up. There's been a bit of suggestions that Donnarumma might be a target, but Gianluigi Donnarumma is not a Pep Guardiola goalkeeper the way he plays. So I think Ortega, they're really comfortable with him. I just think they're going to wait and see what Al Ittihad or Al Nassr, whichever Saudi Arabia club ultimately wants to buy Ederson, offers up. But yeah, I do think he'll go because the player wants to go. I think it's been pretty clear for a while now that he wants to go. So Pep Guardiola's rule at City is that if players don't want to be there, then he'll let them move on. And I think that will happen.
What is it about the multi-million-dollar deal that makes him want to go, do you think, Mark?
I really can't say, Dan. I'm really not sure. No, I mean, at the end of the day, he's won everything there is to win at Man City. He has basically, he's done everything he could possibly do. So, in terms of ambition, he's nothing more to achieve at City, which is fair enough. But obviously, the money is. These footballers are life-changing money anyway. But this is life-changing for his family and the next generation. So. You can understand why he wants to go there. And I've been told that in Saudi Arabia that the plan is to try and attract more South American players and more African players because they believe that those are the players that are more likely to settle there and adjust there. We've seen a few, European players, Jordan Henderson, the obvious one, even Karim Benzema have not settled too well over there. Aymeric Laporte is another one that hasn't enjoyed it over there. So I think they're being more strategic in the players that they go for. And, Ederson, Brazilian, South American, he's probably more happy to make the move than some North European players. But I think it'll happen because the money is so big and Man City stand to make possibly a profit on a player that they've had 6-7 years really good service from.
As Mark mentioned, Stefan Ortega, the immediate replacement, Shaq, we saw good and bad from him last season.
Yeah, I thought, but seeing that no more, in my opinion, far less inconsistent than you'd expect from a number 2. Right. I like Ortega. I think he's a very good goalkeeper. He's an outstanding number 2 and has proved that time and time again. Yes, there have been some mistakes, but there isn't a number 2 out there who doesn't. I think what you see, and I kind of hark back to Pep Guardiola's interest in Erling Haaland in kind of maybe assessing what his next steps are. Goes after Haaland, doesn't get him the first year, doesn't really just buy any old striker. He adjusts and he waits for Haaland to arrive at the right time and the right price. And just kind of given that example, I think the suggestion is the same, and I am completely with Mark. Buffon to Man City, for me, is a non-starter.
Donnarumma. Buffon would be quite something.
Excuse me. You didn't let me finish. But Buffon is a non-starter.
Really?
I was not wrong with that. I wasn't wrong there.
Yeah.
Donnarumma doesn't fit at all. You just look at particularly his mistakes and his high-profile mistakes and how they came for PSG. And it's 9 times out of 10 when the ball is at his feet. So there's, for me, Pep Guardiola going after Donnarumma makes absolutely no sense. So in which case, again, can I just kind of sit and wait as he did with Ederson, find the goalkeeper who just kind of ticks all the boxes, not necessarily the one that's at the top of everyone's charts.
How much of an edge does this take off City's title defence?
I think on the face of it, it takes an edge off because as good as Ortega showed us he can be, he did show he had mistakes. But it's hard to point a finger at somebody who's sitting on the bench for, 80% of the season.
Yeah, right.
So the thing about Ortega is he's capable of doing all the things that Pep wants him to do. The question is, can he be as consistent as Ederson has been? And the only way to do that is by playing consistently, which is going to happen. So, on paper, it does take an edge off because you know exactly what you're getting with Ederson, where you can't say that yet about Ortega.
I think one of the big differences, certainly with Ederson and Ortega, and I made this point particularly early on in Ederson's time at Manchester City, and I thought that he offered such a different option because of his range of passing, because he could drill it 50, 60 yards over the top of you, so teams, even when Man City were trying to build out the back, teams couldn't press too high up because Ederson would just drill it over the top. But as the years went on, you saw less and less of that from Ederson. He's less likely to go over, he still can, but far less likely, and he's more willing to take chances with those small passes out to the back. Now Ortega can't hit it as far as Ederson did, but certainly I think in terms of his short passing, of course, you can do that. So again, I think it's less of a leap now than it maybe would have been 3 or 4 years ago.
What do you think, Mario?
No, I totally understand what Shaka said, but also during the season, a lot of things changed for City because some people start playing different against them. Back in the time, people, when you're not so aware of what is happening against you, you press them high. Then he drills the ball, what Shaka said. But later on, people started to drop off a little bit more and allowing them from the back to make sure they could tie it up. But if you look at both goalkeepers, like you said, Ortega is like, for me, when I look at him, it will be more the pick of saying, we're not taking no risk because we know what we're going to get. If he goes for a new goalkeeper and he has the time to get the one that he likes, it has to be a guy that is be comfortable on the ball. Because what Guardiola has, the biggest philosophy of him is, if you play in his side and you don't want the ball on your feet, you cannot play for him. So if you're a goalkeeper and you're not comfortable with that, then it becomes a problem. So then he's probably going to go for a safer option instead of someone trying to bring in new and put all the pressure on. Imagine you're not a goalkeeper that likes that. You'd be under pressure from day one. And we have seen enough handling that situation.
Mark, we've heard Guardiola in the past saying, look, if players want to leave, they are more than welcome to walk out the door. You take a look at those who've departed over the last couple of years. Overall, I suppose, with the exception of Cole Palmer, you could say they've got it absolutely spot on. But is there a danger if they let this keep happening that this team could get weaker when it comes to fighting on all fronts?
There's definitely a risk of that, but we know that this is likely to be Pep Guardiola's last season. He said that he's closer to leaving than staying. His contract expires at the end of next season. So has Pep Guardiola, maybe taken his eye off the ball a little bit in the sense that is he pushing now for people to stay or people to come in because he knows that he might not be there himself? So I think you're right. I think Cole Palmer's the only one that's kind of haunted City a little bit, but he was a young player that wanted to get away and play. The rest of those players, people like Riyad Mahrez, Laporte, Raheem Sterling, they've probably got the best of years of their career out of those players and moved them on, so they've had great value. And I think the same applies to Ederson. I guess Kevin De Bruyne is another one that is up for debate because De Bruyne, again, has a year left on his contract. There's an offer on the table from Saudi Arabia. He said he'd be keen to go at the end of his contract, but if Man City get offered £25-30 million for a guy that's now, I think he's 33, that's had a couple of injuries the last couple of years, they're going to have to take it because it's such good money, and De Bruyne hasn't played enough games over the last 2 years to justify keeping him and let him go as a free agent if there's a big offer on the table. So they've got big questions to answer. And another element to this as well, we don't know what's going to happen to Man City next season. Are they going to be hit hard by the Premier League for this 115 charges? Are they going to have deductions? Is it going to hit their bottom line? And if it is, getting the money in now is probably not a bad way of doing it. And also, they're finding it hard to bring players in. So it's an interesting summer at City because all this uncertainty hanging over the club. So if there's a really good deal on the table, they're going to take it.
What do you do with Kevin De Bruyne, Steve? It's an interesting one, isn't it?
Unfortunately, they're probably not in the driver's seat.
Yep.
If I'm Kevin De Bruyne, hold on a minute. I can stay here. I'm still on a fantastic wage. We're going to be challenging. Yeah, you could look at the things that may come up, the deduction or whatever. But at the end of the day, if I'm Kevin De Bruyne, I'm going to have 12 months here, and then I'm going to get twice as much money as I would get right now.
Right.
So. For Kevin De Bruyne, why do you want to go?
If you're City, if an offer comes in tomorrow, would you take it?
I still wouldn't take it.
Really?
Yeah. Listen, I understand that everybody has the price, but there are certain players that you need. And for me, you don't let Kevin De Bruyne go.
But are we still looking at him through rose-tinted glasses?
Here's
slightly?
the thing, right? Oggie's saying that if they get offered 20 million, they should take it. But I'm sorry, but for what Kevin De Bruyne can give me if he's fit...
Right.
It's worth not getting the 20 million for this season, in my humble opinion. The Mo Salah one, just for some context, is a different ballgame because the money we were talking about was 100 million. That's why you would let Salah go. But same thing, if they're offered 20 million for Salah, I would say the same thing. No, it's not worth 20 million to let somebody who's arguably your best player go.
Mario, obviously, it was an injury-ridden season last year. Didn't particularly shine, did he, in the Euros either for Kevin De Bruyne. What sort of campaign are we expecting this season from the Manchester City man? What are you expecting from him?
it comes down to how, when you look at a player, right, you got to know where he is in mind-wise, because what is his wish, what he wants to achieve still. That is going to be a crucial question, because he has won so many trophies already with Man City. And the way the journey of his career, you understand, when it started at, he comes to England, Chelsea, goes to Germany, comes back to England, and then he took off. Even people were like, wow, what did Chelsea do wrong to get not hold on to a player like him? So now, like Stevie said, for City, I don't know if they have to go for the money, because what Stevie said was the bonus that they get anyway for staying in the Premier League or whatever, I think it weights over what the money they're going to get from the Saudis. But the only thing, I think Kevin has a big say in this movement too, because where he is as a player and how important he is for that team, I think if he speaks out and says, I want to leave, and he came out already, he said he was open to listen to offers. When a player comes out and he says he's open to listen to offers, we've played so many games. When a player said, I'm open to listen to offers, oh, believe me, his ear is more to the offer than it's at the club. But now it's down to the club. What are they going to offer him, and how do they see moving forward? But I agree with Steve. He's too important to let him go now. He's only got 1 year. After that, Kevin can do what he wants with a career like that.
Just one thing to add to that. People like Kevin De Bruyne, the one thing I would suggest that you could never even think about is he going to just take it easy for a year?
Okay.
You do not get to the level of performance that this guy has.
That's not with him.
He just doesn't know any other thing to do than give it 100%. So people in his situation, the whole how is he going to be mentally, it's got nothing to do with that, in my opinion. It's only one question: is he going to be fit?
I have a different opinion on this, because it's not just one injury hit season that Kevin De Bruyne has endured. It's been two, back to back. And I can't help but think back to the game against Newcastle. He just kind of comes back from weeks being out, and
But that was almost an anomaly last season, wasn't it?
But it speaks to how good a player he is. Now the thing is, again, 2 injury hit seasons back to back. At times he was a little bit moody during the course of last season in particular. But the biggest factor to this is Phil Foden's form when he plays through the middle. Mm-hmm. And so given how good Foden was when he played through the middle, and now you have this choice of, while an incredibly talented player still, but 2 seasons where he featured roughly half the games for them, and the choice of losing him for nothing next year, and I have financial issues kind of brewing in the background, I think I'll let him go,